Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Weil.
And Rohith.
And you guessed it. We're talking Avatar Last Airbender, but no, not the one you may be thinking of. We're talking about the live action Avatar Last Airbender. We're doing a spoiler cast on
But
it. Just
not the other live action Avatar Last
no,
Airbender.
no, not that Avatar either. No, this is the. I
The-
know now. There's a whole collective of them,
and
but
not
no,
and also not the other Last Airbender.
no, that was what I was getting at, Jacob. Yes, we're not talking about that. We were talking about just to be all specific now, because now we're in an era where we have to be. This is the live action readaptation of the of the Avatar, the Last Airbender animated series, but as a series itself, not a movie directed by M. Night Shyamalan, not James Cameron stealing the name, but the real Avatar is what we're
Through
doing, a
Netflix.
live action series over there, adapting that in live action now via Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh
So that's a long-winded way of telling you what we're here to do today. So yeah, spoiler cast on. We're talking about kind of a broad, all-encompassing manner. What's the overall thoughts? How we feel? Well, people are very divided on this. How do you two come down on it?
Rohit.
I think overall, after watching all 8 episodes over the course of this weekend, I've come to the conclusion that this adaptation is just fine, but it's not great. It's not bad. It's not awful. It's not even mediocre. But it is not great. It's not good. It's not even like decent. It's in this really middle state where there are things that are well done and there are things that are, and I think a lot of it's this is adaptation elements that I think undermine the heft of certain character arcs, of a certain sense of scope for the season. And I think from once I finished the season, I came away feeling that on a fundamental level, the changes that they made didn't ultimately service the not really the story so much as the characters. And I think just certain mixing and matching of certain plots from not even like the book one from other books of the animated show, I think lead to things being not really well paced, and the ways just the writing of it of certain episodes and certain scenes just didn't feel as vibrant or with much personality as say the animated show was. And so I'm kind of in this place where it's like on a pure aesthetic level it's accurate in terms of certain characters writing and certain actors performance is accurate, but there's just a little bit of a je ne sais quoi to the animated show that I think in making the changes that they made really undermine sort of the interesting and really important storytelling, elements that made the first book be as memorable and be worthwhile to where people then stayed on to watch the second and third season, book 2 and book 3. I think the cast is really burdened by not so great direction and even not really that great of writing. And I think for the fight choreography, it's good for the most part. I think the VFX can kind of be hit and miss depending upon which part of the Avatar world we're in, whether we're in an interior environment or an exterior environment. I will say the creature effects are really good. Appa and Momo, and even the creature
Spirit animals.
yes, yeah, they're done really well. And I think it's kind of a case where it's like on the technical level, Avatar is good adaptation wise, but in terms of the writing, in terms of sort of the heft of certain arcs and certain like plot beats. The changes don't lead to something that is uniquely different from the animated show, but good in its own. It just leads to less interesting stories and less interesting characters, and which is kind of sad for me because it's certainly better than the live action film, the M. Night Shyamalan adaptation, but there is still some things that are really, putting a ceiling on its potential to be great. And I think as we get more into the discussion of certain things in the show, I feel like that would be made very explicitly clear in terms of what changes I'm referring to, or people still might have an idea of what I'm talking about.
All right.
Hey, okay, Lieutenant G, what say you?
Wait, who?
Well, like Lieutenant G, like Zuko's, they had the whole arc with him this season.
I know, but who's supposed to be Lieutenant G? Me?
Well, it's G spelled a J, so I don't know. I kind of went for it there, but I don't know. I like Lieutenant G. I don't know. Anyway, what say you, second in command, sir? What do you got?
Wait, are you saying you're Zuko?
I have no idea anymore. Just what do you
So, Jacob, what was your thoughts on the show?
I know. Just, honestly, I had to go in like knowing that this would be quite different. This would be a bit different from the animated series, and for the most part, I was kind of cautiously optimistic going into this. And some of as Rohith mentioned, some of the changes were interesting. Like speaking of Lieutenant G, I did kind of like the story arc regarding like how they actually connected Zuko's crew to the reason why he got banished, which I thought was a pretty interesting change. Which I don't think that was present in the original series.
It wasn't.
It's like, so I think that actually is a pretty good change how they connected those two, and it does highlight Zuko's underlying honor in a way. But no, and as Rohith said, a lot of the stuff, like aesthetically, I mean, they kind of nailed it. This is how the characters probably would look in live action. Especially like the casting for the characters is perfect. Like, especially like Fire Lord Ozai. Then Daniel Day Kim looks great as Ozai. So, yeah. Let's see where, and I wouldn't top on the visual effects. Like, did anyone notice that some of the scenes were like way too dark to sometimes even see anything?
Yeah. It's kind of an effects cheat where if you're unsure about the CG and the effects, you darken the area.
It's like, yeah, I mean, and the thing is, a lot of time that wasn't even done in scenes with CG in it. Like, they're even like the scene where Aang and Zuko, where Zuko rescued Aang, like you could barely even see who was talking.
Well, that was always at night, though.
I know, but they at least had like some kind of light or something.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying, but
sure.
But just in general, like the creature effects, as he pointed out, do look good. Like Appa looks great. Like,
when we see him.
Yeah, when we see him. But
I mean, you got to conserve your budget. Like, I can understand.
They knew what they were getting into. It's a show where the characters travel via giant sky bison. Okay, they knew the risk.
I know that. So for what we saw of him and Momo, they used him quite well, and he looks good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna, and who knows? Maybe if this season proves to be successful, they can have an improved attempt for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? Remember, this was all in addition to Netflix. It was also Nickelodeon, so there is that.
Right.
So I was like, I liked a lot of this. I like elements of this show. They're like a lot of the whole combining of the elements did feel elements. I didn't mean to have a pun, but there you go.
Yes, you did. Don't you deny it. Yes, you did.
To be honest, though, Dragon, that was just like something that rolled off my tongue. It was not intentional.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I'm being serious, but
all right.
It's like I meant elements as in like parts of the show, but it worked out well. But anyways, like some of them kind of end up muddying each other. Like, you're putting all these things together, and instead of like giving them room to breathe, it tried to cram all these kind of ended up almost being like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
in a way, like, or not giving enough characters time to breathe, or actually moving some of the characters to different locations kind of muddies the reasons why they did what they did in the first place.
In other words, muddying the waters.
Yeah, you can say that. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like talking more from like a standpoint of the actual series, because the pacing of this series is kind of all over the place. Like sometimes like episodes can begin with them on the run, and then others are just like them.
It's a dense 8 episodes. There's a lot in those 8 episodes.
Yes, and guys, like I'm gonna blow your mind real quick. It's like, you know that kid with the arrow? I think that kid might be the Avatar.
What? You're insane. You dolt. No, he's not the. Do you think how small minded? You think every kid with an arrow is going to be the Avatar? Really? It's like come on. Like
he's the one, I swear.
I'll get it. You know what? You're always talking. Yeah, you're worse than the foamy mouth guy. Just shut up. At least that guy's honest.
It's like even Murphy's Law is like incorrect. Like, nobody react to what I'm about to tell you. I think that kid might be the Avatar. It's still good. Anyway. It's like, so yeah, it's like, oh, well, like, and then I wouldn't say watching this was a waste of time. It just felt like I was just like, felt like I was going through the motions, even if I hadn't seen the original one before. I would kind of feel that. I feel like I would feel that way, even though sometimes it was kind of, I think it was kind of hard to separate the two, which is, inevitable. But I did try to go in separating it, but it seems like there are points where some of the changes were good, others were not, and we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon?
So, I adore Avatar: Last Airbender.
I think, well, that goes without saying, because I think we all here do.
I know I was going somewhere with that, but yes, we all do, Jacob. I adore Avatar like we all do. It was something truly special, and it's a show that so good, could measure easily, I think, and such a rare quality in the animated series, especially when at the time it came out. Show so good can measure up to the DCAU or any of the works of Greg Wiseman. A show that good. Now, fundamentally, though, we didn't need a live-action adaptation, and ultimately, the thing is, we got to stop feeding the misconception that live-action equals legitimacy, because it doesn't. So often we've seen the attempts. I mean, the Disney side of things, just as the go-to example, like just because live action doesn't mean that it's an excuse to print money, or just like, okay, now it matters, now we can do it.
Speaking of which, I just heard that the person, like Sean Bailey, was just like had just left the company.
Yeah.
Did you hear that too?
No.
Well, apparently he was the one who was like doing all these live action remakes, and now he's gone.
Well, that's good. Anyway,
I mean, he's been there since for over 10 years.
Well, it's not good for his family, but it's good for us.
All right, so moving on.
Anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's kind of this misconception. We have all these great animated works, and it's always like, well, it's in live action. I don't care, like to a general audience, or like, oh, this is live action. It's we see this all the time in superhero movies as well. It's like for every 10 people have seen like the Batman movies, there's always like someone who hasn't seen Phantasm, at least to some small degree.
Blasphemy.
Exactly. That's a bad example. You know what I mean? Like, we have a lot of great animated stuff out there, but it's not exactly in the second glance. If we look at the award seasons, it's an epidemic that kind of keeps going on and on. So this kind of feeds into that, just in the sense of like, okay, so if any of the adults in the room, they're probably like, the kids watched Avatar, or at least at this point, like, hey, I'm not going to get into that kid stuff, but it's in live action, so now I'm going to give it a shot. Which, again, wrong headspace to go into it with. So,
I mean, the original series was quite mature.
Yes. Admittedly, though, it grew to that. Though the first until we get the Gyatso skeleton, it's pretty lighthearted.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that.
Don't get me wrong, it's like a brief number of episodes before we get there, but still, it's just like there was a build. And it impresses even in season 1 when we get the drama in there, and then we kind of we feed it in there naturally. Then it gets into by season 3, like whoa.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was getting at is again, all that said, the whole we don't need our animated stuff adapted to live action for it to count, for it to be really heralded as something really special or amazing when it actually is because of the content of the story and everything. But I think deep down there is a primal curiosity seeing our childhoods or our childhood animated series or just animated series in general brought to life. Just the question of what would it look like just given life, just we toy with this all around, in cosplays at conventions, and we've it's been attempted so often in film adaptations, one of which by M. Night Shyamalan, which we know how that turned out.
Although I will kind of funny anecdote. There's people saying Princess Yui's hair actually looks better in the movie than it did in this. That was just a fun anecdote I've seen.
Right. Anyway, so the point is we keep wanting to see at least there's a curiosity that can't be helped. You have to wonder what would it look like if we just took the cartoon, we actually put it on screen verbatim. We even do this all the time with our comic adaptations. With what would it look like if we put them in the actual outfit? And many times when they do the actual outfit, it looks amazing. So we kind of play with that here, but in general, so often does it ever work? And the facts in regard to the show are this. Shyamalan did Avatar dirty, and by proxy of that, this show, no matter what it did ultimately, so long as it made it a good faith effort, it would be a vast improvement. So I think we checked that box here sincerely.
As I said to you personally, it didn't have to do much to be an improvement over Shyamalan.
Yeah, but I can absolutely see when I'm watching it. And this is the main thing I had to divorce myself from going into this. I knew there was going to be a bit of deflatement of the showrunners from the original show. They abandoned ship on this project, and it's not to say they just necessarily gave up, but it's to say they were bumping up against the way Netflix was kind of running their series, and it makes me wonder if certain choices in this show, if it was mandated or not, or if there was pushback. At the very least, Konietzko and DiMartino were they were a little disenfranchised in the development of the show, and they left. So I was trying to divorce myself from the kind of the disheartenment of when this thing was announced, they're doing live action, and they had the guys involved this time. That's a great start. And then they left no, we almost had no. We could have seen the successful version of that Airbender movie. Come on. Anyway,
yeah.
So all that said, even trying to divorce myself from that, I can see the absence in the show, which it's a shame.
Which is kind of weird because you actually do see their names written on as writers on some of the episodes.
That's the thing. There's 2 episodes I think that have their names on it. Episodes 1 and 6, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. So it's a shame because my goal my real hope going into this show was that the draw for me, best case scenario, was that this is going to be Avatar: Last Airbender Kai, kind of like Dragon Ball Kai or Dragon Ball Z Kai, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's basically we cut out the filler, we kind of were sticking to the core story, we're kind of rearranging things a little bit for in kind of a fresh way. Basically, the idea, let's take what we know now in readapting the story, kind of like we see all the time in anime stuff. Where I know Avatar is not strictly anime, but definitely very much in there are a lot of anime inspirations. But it's basically seeing that doing kind of a revamp or a readaptation of the story that we all know in live action. So, and we've seen this been achieved. Netflix has achieved this in things like Series of Unfortunate Events in One Piece, where we've done good faith adaptations that actually do kind of bring something to the table that we had not seen when in the prior version. Now, worst case going into this, I was expecting that the fear I had going into this was that worst case it could have been Yu Yu Hakusho, which in the live action Yu Yu Hakusho, which was ridiculously abridged, to the point of 5 episodes, and we're going to try and cram the most iconic season 2 kind of plot in 5 episodes. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so again, I'll just put all bluntly again. It was not that. It was not Yu Yu Hakusho in live action levels of the bridge they're chopped to pieces. But unfortunately, it was not the Avatar Last Airbender kind of Kai I was hoping for. It's a mixed bag, but I want to acknowledge I can understand it's a very difficult task to adapt this. I'm sure I can respect that a good faith attempt was made, even without the showrunners there, or at least fully there. It's not an abomination like some people might lead you to believe. It's not that. But that said, I'm still very grateful that we are getting an actual Avatar Studios, Nickelodeon offshoot they're doing that has all the Avatar stuff with the creators actually working on that still in the pipe and still happening. I'm still glad we have that going on. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is that movie of theirs supposed to be coming out sometime soon?
Well, that's the thing. Yes,
October 2025.
Is that actually confirmed?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Admittedly, though, I still say with Avatar Studios, they had like one video so far where I think it's Kanitsuko sitting down, kind of like hyping things up and really talking about his just journey with the Avatar stuff. But still, we haven't really. It sounds like the ultimate promise of like we're going to give you everything you've ever dreamed of as an Avatar fan. But it's been going on like this for years, and say it's coming, it's Avatar Studios, and we've not really seen a lick of footage.
Well, they're probably just trying to get it right, and they're probably been mixed up in all this as well.
Well, I'm sure. I'm just saying that I'm just saying like I can see also like man, they're promising a lot, and we don't even have like a logo. I don't really know if we truly have a logo for Avatar Studios yet.
Well, hopefully it does work out for them.
I mean, I appreciate the ambition. I want to see it. I'm desperately hoping, like, please, dear God, let all of that happen.
Yeah, maybe they'll adapt like some of the comic books.
That is the hope, but it sounds like they're not doing that, from what I heard. Because obviously, the big story to adapt: what happened to Zuko's mom?
Yeah, or how Aang and Zuko founded established the foundations of what become Republic City.
Yes, but let's be honest. We want to know what happened. We want to see what happened to Zuko's mom.
Well, that too, but that could
Find
be
priorities, man. Come on, like literally, the first episode of Chords kind of tosses it aside. Oh, tell us about that story. Nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess breaking it down. Well, any comments we should highlight?
I think we have like Murphy's Law from earlier. It's like greetings.
Hey.
It's like I like the show since anime since Code Geass says I like the show. It's since an adaptation, it might not be as original as the animated series. However, it stands well on its own and made some choices that I really like. Which seems to be our general consensus here.
Yeah. There is good in here. There is good. There's good.
It's like the thing effect. I think that was referring to what I mentioned. Like some of the scenes were too dark. How dare I spread lies regarding the kid with the arrow being the Avatar?
Yeah.
It's like, and film wasn't that bad according to Code Geass.
Yeah.
And Little Blue's opinion on it. Think that Shyamalan's version Last Airbender drum emoji.
That's what that emoji is?
I mean, look at it. It's a drum.
Oh, I thought. Okay, no, I thought you said drama emoji. That's what I'm saying. Like, how does that drama?
Yeah, no, it's drum.
I now know that it's. I can see that's from now. Okay, anyway, yes.
Yes. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I think the place to start, just to kind of get the ball rolling here. So the Southern Air Temple, like the way we open things up here. Episode 1, I think, is very much a litmus test for okay, here's kind of what we're doing with this show. Now, I think telling Aang's backstory in a linear fashion was a good, inspired idea, but I do feel it was coupled with two problems.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to tell it linearly so we get all out of the way and we kind of build an attachment to Aang and everything, but the problems are it really feels like the way it's adapted in episode 1. It really feels like Aang was just clearing his head with Appa, who he just kind of miraculously met in that moment. But that's neither here nor there. We didn't do like the whole like feed him the apple, your bison kind of follows you for life. Look, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to split hairs at every single little thing that is different from the show. But here's my issue. Aang's just going to clear his head for that night. The way that scene plays, he learns he's the Avatar. kind of briefly, mind you. He's just like, oh yeah, you're the Avatar, but it's gonna be okay.
Monkey. They did expand Monkey Yatso though.
That was a good move. I like expanding the Gyatso, and again, with the whole linear fashion, we're able to do that. That's great. But yeah,
and I did miss a comment earlier. I feel like being one step above M. Night Shyamalan isn't enough. It needs to doesn't take much to be better than the movie. The goal should be good and not just better than the past.
Yeah.
He pointed out that he missed one. That I missed one. So
yeah. Anyway, if I can find my point. Yes. Okay. So it really feels like Aang's just going to clear his head with the big life-changing kind of revelation there versus what it really is in the show, which is kind of a fundamental core point that we kind of play in the rest of this show like it happened, like it did in the animated show, but it clearly didn't, where I'm going to go clear my head versus like he's actually running away from the air temple, like what he does in the animated show, the way he play, you're a coward, you ran away from the war. No, he didn't run away from the war. He went to get some air and he got trapped.
Well, actually, here's kind of where
like that's not his fault.
I guess I see your point about it.
He was stressed out.
I see your point about it being not less dramatic. Although I think there is a bit of tragedy in the fact that he went back. Because I think it could have been. I feel like the best way of doing the whole like, Aang, leaving the air temple is that he runs away, but then he has like second thoughts as he's going and is trying to come back, and then as he's coming back is like when the storm gets
yeah, but
powerful.
we didn't do that though.
No, that's what I think. It's like the way it's done. It's like halfway good, and the other half is like. I feel like it should have been.
It really more highlights like how like this is a kid who's basically thrust the responsibilities of the world onto him at a young age. Like instead of just going and get some air, it's like most kids, even one who was like raised in a nomadic temple, would probably just like try to run away from it.
So the other thing. I kind of prefer, and this is honestly a complaint I have with a lot of the stuff, and this is the one that is kind of like inching on the whole, like, there is a comparison to the series here, just in the fact that Avatar was very well paced, but they had enough episodes to allow that, and also they had to make their 22 minutes count. And here, a lot of our dramatic plot points, a lot of these staples of Avatar, they have a less is more approach because one, again, it was initially, essentially it's an all ages show, so they have to, they can't really be super violent. This show kind of like allows like we're incinerating people, which it does have with fire, but it's a little abrupt. Like dear God, like we can incinerate people, and yet when we're kicking people with fireballs, they're going to be as lightly dusted. They're fine.
Yeah, here we actually see people's skin get charred.
So that's the thing. I admit it. I think they're a little, I think they're a little inconsistent with that. Where it's like they can do that, and yet, we're still chucking fire people, and they seem to be fine for the most part. But here's what I'm getting at. I'm sorry, it's a long one away. What I'm getting at is that the less is more approach, not just with the censorship, but in general. Like for example, I think we lessened finding Gyatso's bones in a skeleton, which is a huge moment in that show by seeing the whole extinction of the air nomads, and like Sozin feels more like a footnote than he does like a setup.
I disagree because I think the way that we saw the Fire Nation come into the Earth Temple, I think there's one thing I appreciate the show. They do not hide away of how like damaging and traumatic this being a war looks like. And I think with the Fire Nation, when they come into this other air temple, there is this like sheer like shock and awe, and seeing like air nomads just being burned down and like
even attacking children.
Yeah, that it really, you really feel the horror and pain, and seeing like basically people getting genocided.
Well, again, I don't have an issue with what they shot. I just have an issue of like, it's like Aang goes and we set up, okay, the Fire Nation is coming, and then cut to, we don't, Aang coming to learn that the air nomads are gone, and he finds Gyatso's skeleton to confirm those fears. I think that's a little bit more impactful. But then again, you're not wrong. It does set up the Fire Nations not to be messed with.
I think it would have been interesting maybe if we followed more the structure of the show, of the animated show, where it's like, Katara and Sokka fighting, and through interacting with Aang, they learn about it, and then if we got to the Southern Air Temple, that would have been an episode. You could have had the episode dedicated to a flashback, like each scene, and maybe he gets to commune with Monkey Atso, or like Aang gets to even see like the Air Temple being destroyed, like he sees in the past, whatever, but he can't do anything about it. And you can like zoom in on like on Aang's actor's face and how he's reacting to all that would have been cool. But I do agree with I think like what it is that basically we have the tragedy, we have all that, and then we're just seeing the bones just kind of reconfirms what we already know.
Yeah.
Whereas the way the show did is that we see the horror of it,
Mhm.
and then for the show, it could have done the flashbacks to really kind of like sink in how tragic the demise of the air nomads were.
Sure. Well, I mean, the other thing that it kind of takes away from it for me is that I don't know, just while the Fire Nation is intimidating in that whole sequence, I got to be honest, Sozin feels really like lip service at this opening. Or Sozin feels this is why it's called Sozin's Comet, and then Sozin orchestrated this thing. But Sozin's not really a character when it feels like we could have maybe hyped up like I don't know. Sozin just felt like an utter footnote at the top of this thing versus like setup, like versus like ultimately where we're going with Sozin. I mean, I like the idea of like okay, setting up that this was Sozin's the guy who made the really ruthless call there.
I mean,
But
heck, in the original series, like the entire episode is dedicated to Sozin and the Avatar and the Fire Lord.
that's my point, Jacob. Is that I don't feel that was like set up here. It feels like that's it feels like it was more like we're just gonna throw Sozin in there versus like here's the Sozin character. He's gonna build a little intrigue, and then when we check back in with Roku, we can have Roku mention his dying. He knew Sozin. Then maybe down the line we would actually then pay that off, or maybe
Yeah,
thread that needle a little bit because that was a
honestly,
great idea we had in 3 that we never really fully saw until
no,
3.
considering like that, Ozai is like more of the forefront. He doesn't have the enigmatic like just his voice and his silhouette. You could have done that for Avatar Sozin.
Yeah, but he didn't
That's
really have
what
that
he
at all.
had,
He just
like,
seemed like
those-
generic beardy guy.
Yeah. You could have done that for him, and then over the course of maybe for our like you said, like Roku just talks about him, and he talks about him both in like being afraid and also being like saddened. And then in subsequent seasons, when like Aang reconnects with Roku, then you get to more and more. And I think with considering what's the big twist or reveal with the fact that like Zuko is like descendant of both Sozin and Avatar Roku, that would have especially hit in that build up, sort of deal. But
Should we talk about the casting?
Like as I mentioned earlier, I think Daniel Day Kim does pretty good for.
I think he is the big. I agree with you 100%, Jay. I think he's honestly the biggest standout of the show. I think he was like he best captured the like he's like very he's translated like exactly the animated show to what we need live action.
My favorite casting, at least favorite performance, is like Dallas Liu as Zuko really kills it for me. Like kills it in a good way. Like when I say kills it like he does a great job.
I think the 3 best cast or the 3 best performances are obviously Ozai, Zuko, and Sokka.
Real well, here's the thing. I agree. Those are great ones, but honestly, I think Iroh too. I mean,
I think like Paul, the actor who plays him, I'm finding
Paul Sun. It's hold on. It's Paul Sun Hyun Lee.
Paul Sun Hyun Lee. To my Smurfy, like he and I know each other on a different server, and he mentioned to me that on the Netflix show Kim's Convenience, he's in the thing that I have issue with is less with his performance, and it's more likely the writing and directing, where Uncle Iroh in this show is like a little bit more reserved and kind of more, more pressed up and like formal. Whereas Uncle Iroh in the animated show is like Mr. Miyagi meets Santa Claus. And I feel like for whatever reason, I don't know why the writers directors did this. It's like Uncle Iroh just doesn't have that like jovialness or that congeniality. So
I mean, of all the changes that I do, that's another change I do like though for regarding Iroh is him actually interacting with Ozai.
Oh, I like that too. For me, it's just that like his performance it's less that he's doing a bad job. It's just that I think the writers should have made Iroh be more closer to his animated self, because that's what makes Uncle Iroh such an appealing character in the show. Is that he's like the one of the few people in the Fire Nation that doesn't subscribe or conform to the stereotypes of the Fire Nation, and that's why he's such a compelling character. He's why he's able to bring Zuko from a dark place to where he is at the end of the show. And I think with this, it's like I'll say this: I really appreciate that that like we got to see Uncle Iroh's emotional state when he lost his son Lutan, and him and Dallas lose Zuko, like when they're like comforting each other. That is a really solid scene, and that's an addition I really appreciate. And also I really appreciate in one scene where like Uncle Iroh's like he's captured by the Earthbenders, and there's this one Earthbender that gives his thing about like losing his like family relative in the BC.
Yeah, this was actually a really good idea.
During how he lost his family during the siege of Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we never in the show we always played Iroh so lovable and so light, but then
but he was the Fire Lord at one point.
Well, no, he wasn't the Fire Lord, Jacob. He was just like
wasn't he? They could have.
He was supposed like he's like the eldest brother, so he was slated for, but then he lost lieutenants. I don't think that's how that works.
All right.
I'm pretty sure, but anyway. Sorry, fact of the matter is, we never addressed that, Iroh, again, he is the Dragon of the West. We never really weighed in, like, what exactly does that mean? Like, you took Ba Sing Se, but yes, in taking Ba Sing Se, the incredible power that he displayed.
The Dragon of the West.
Yes, this is the Dragon of the West.
No, the Dragon of the West was that Uncle Iroh was the inspiration for Jake Long, American Dragon. You continue.
Although it's funny how many strange connections there are between The Last Airbender and American Dragon.
Indeed, there are.
But go on.
Yeah, the fact is, we took down the wall, and taking down the wall, there are going to be casualties with the guards and everything. So the whole casualties of war thing, we never really got with Iroh, because we always dwelled on the loss of his son, which obviously was a really good thing. And honestly, I think a missed opportunity in this show. We never a flashback with Lutan might have been really impactful, because we never saw anything with Lutan aside from like when he was a little kid with Iroh. It's the only time we ever saw Lutan. That and the painting.
Brave soldier boy.
Exactly. So it is. So I thought that scene was really interesting, but here's the weird problem with Iroh in this show. Well, I think the performance is great. I do love it. And unfortunately, while we only get like one tea scene, really, which just feel like, okay, not enough tea. We didn't meet our tea quota with Iroh here.
Who knows? Maybe they'll address that in season 2.
Well, again, if they open that tea shop, but, yeah.
In the Earth Kingdom.
But here's the thing. It does feel to me in this show we kind of hit a lot of story dead ends that were avoided very masterfully in the animated show. That here again they kind of broke the rules, presumably because the creators weren't there. Presumably, but again I don't know. Maybe it was just like they wanted to swing for the fences, but then they realized. Well, I guess they didn't realize the show's kind of over if we have these scenes. 2 in particular, okay. If Iroh is in a cell with Aang and they're really cordial with each other, which initially is like, oh, that's really nice. These two would be really nice to each other. And again, we don't really do that in the show until season 2, when it's like seemingly Zuko's going to make the big turn, and Uncle Iroh's giving Aang life advice, and like Aang's asking a lot of smart questions here, and not really dwelling on like Iroh kind of rethinking things at all here, because again we know how Iroh is. Iroh's just doing all this for Zuko's benefit. Really, he's not he doesn't really believe in the Fire Nation cause all that much. So we kind of reach a point in that conversation where why is Iroh doing all this? Like he's not really saying that part to Aang. And then on the flip side, the biggest issue I think we have in the show is that if Aang and Zuko if Zuko's conscious during that Blue Spirit conversation, as he is here, the conflict there's no conflict anymore. He tells him, "I need you so I can get so I can get in the good graces of my father again." All that, and it kind of reaches this weird place of like, okay, where do we go from here? I'm gonna shoot that fireball at him because I have to. Versus like the really artful like thing where even if Zuko hears everything Aang's saying, he's still going to make that choice, which is what we have in the animated Blue Spirit episode. But here it's like, hey, we've actually had a little chat here, and we've kind of like we have common ground, but I'm still going to go after you.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Does it seem like again we may have like we kind of broke some bylaws in kind of our adaptation here with a few of these we can't put them, we can have these conversations, at least not yet.
Yeah, kind
Not
of.
this early on.
Yeah, it felt like that for that. There should have been the conversation may not have fully gone through to Zuko, but there should have been like a crack in his armor.
Which I don't think formed.
No, what?
Yeah, which I don't think formed really here.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing where it's like the whole mixing up and like taking things from later seasons, putting them earlier. Like for example, like Omashu having both the mechanist and like Jet just feels so weird, especially with the fact that like for Jet's episode, the whole thing, it was a Sokka focus episode. Like Katara and Aang were kind of like sort of being swooned or charmed by Jet, and Sokka is the skeptic that can see through, that is skeptical of Jet, and then through what happened in that episode, like Sokka as a character is someone that like shows that like, hey, he like him and Katara have went through bad stuff with the Fire Nation. That doesn't mean that they basically commit terrorism, and that's kind of the thing where like the fact that Katara was just paired with Jet, and then Sokka's with like the Mechanist, and Aang is just kind of hops its own thing. It's like it felt like either the character pairs needed to change, or you should have excised one of the two. I love Danny Pooty's the Mechanist, but it's like there's Boomy, yeah, like Aang's Boomy. It just felt that Omashu episode, it was so
Mashu was kind of a collision.
Yeah,
I mean, the Omashu thing basically combined like the Mechanist, Jet, and the King Boomy arc all into one.
Now here, okay, so let's address kind of that overall here. So again, the whole thing of streamlining things. So again, big draw for me was again like cutting out the fat of Avatar, which in the past we've seen with stuff like the Great Divide, no brainer, we don't need that. Bato, the Bato episode, we don't need that. The pirates, I mean, look, the pirates are fun, but we don't need it.
Even though they kind of did lead to the waterbending scroll.
I know, but again, we kind of found like a way to make sense of the waterbending scrolls. Grand might have the waterbending. I could buy that. Okay, that's fine. Look, but you're right though. The pirates are fun though, but we don't need them.
I mean, the thing is though, is like a lot of those like extra filler episodes kind of like brought life to the characters in a way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with filler, but if we only have 8 episodes and we got to trim the fat, we got to trim this, some of this stuff. And these are cuts that make sense. And here's the thing. So boiling it down to the core story, basically core story being we're going to go from the Southern Water Tribe to the Northern Water Tribe. Okay, that's essentially what season 1 at its core story is. Getting Aang from there to there, and we're going to stop, the whole Roku thing in the middle just to kind of get us to tell us where we need to go.
Kind of like a road trip kind of thing.
Exactly. Which again, that's ultimately Avatar's it's a lot of traveling until we get to the 3rd season.
Where the third season is basically hiding and camping.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I appreciate the cute little references. I thought this was a really clever. They were going to reference like the little side quest of some of those adventures, and because we didn't need to see them, but the time has passed. They've gone from here to here, and that way we get in there. But here's something that baffles me. Okay, of all the things to cut, and yet they make a point of including it. It makes no sense. So in the homage stuff, we kind of add yet another plot line. The Cave of Two Lovers has no business being in this.
Also, like, here's the thing. Here's what I would say about the Cave of Two Lovers story in this show. I would have been okay, and maybe accepted it for Sokka and Katara to been there. And here's how I would have accepted it. I would accepted it if maybe at the beginning of the show, their relationship was characterized as being tense, that they were antagonistic. Baby Sokka was, like he's in the cartoon, a little sexist towards Katara, and they're kind of more often than not fight at each other's throats. And then with the Cave of Two Lovers, maybe we learned that it's not really just like romantic love that's what attracts or connects with the Badgers. It's just love as a thing. So you can have platonic familial love, and maybe in that episode could have been a turning point where Sokka and Katara get to remove their issues and express their love for another brother or sister. But the fact is that
It's a train wreck.
Sokka isn't doesn't have his sexism. So for me, it's like, what is really Sokka's character arc? It's like he's like struggling to want to be a warrior, but at the end he doesn't have to be. He just has to be a hero. But then earlier on, it was like, you don't have to be a warrior. You can be an engineer. And then it's like, I don't really see much of like it's for me. It's like, you're not doing the sexism part. You're doing the war engineer part. It's like, okay, you have him maybe maybe he's trying to just fight a problem, but if anything, him solving it actually leads to him defeating the problem, or vice versa, or
Well,
maybe
Rohith, I think it's much simpler than that. I think Sokka does have an arc, and I do think I don't think we're missing anything with the sexism thing. Was only like 3 episodes. And they kind of lost that quickly in the show, anyway. If you really look at it.
Yeah, but it was still a major part of his character early on.
Well, that's the thing. Early on, though, they lost it after 3 to 4 episodes. I think probably 4 episodes, but
well, after they visited Kyoshi Island.
That's what I'm saying. After Kyoshi Island. Now, admittedly, yes, we do go to Kyoshi Island, but here's tabling the sexism just for a moment. The arc that we have, even without that, again, I'm not saying we fully convey it the way we should, but the arc they're going for is, Sokka, he's not the best warrior, but he compensates for the lack of strength with at least I think what they're going for over the course of a series, perhaps, is he's using his smarts, which we did see in the Avatar series, where Sokka had a lot of good ideas and a lot of clever plans. He was a strategist, and an inventor and strategist and everything.
I mean, there's a reason why he was basically the leader of Team Avatar.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the arc, and we can see the building blocks of that here, even without the sexism thing, which is only 4 episodes in the show.
Well, it's not even...
He just had Katara sew his pants, and he's making some dumb observations with Tsuki. That's about as far as it went.
No. But I'll kind of contend. I'll
what else was there?
No. It's not. What I'm saying is that Sokka's sexism. The whole thing is that he was a young kid that had to basically be the man of the house when it came to the man of the village. And he was insecure about his position. He didn't feel like he measured up to his dad or Bato. And basically, how that's manifested that insecurity is him being sexist towards women, specifically Katara. And over the course of that book 1 is that he grows out of that limited mindset. He respects sort of the female figures. He lets them take charge. And because of that, he becomes more self-realized as a person. He becomes more mature. And when he gets to meet Princess Yue, he's a different person from where he was at the beginning, because he had to go through the process of getting his head out of his ass and realize about his sense of purpose and his sense of strength. And because the show doesn't have that, it's like Sokka is just, for me, the actor who plays him does a good job of doing the funny part Sokka, but it's like Sokka at the beginning is a person who does have a bit of an edge. Or not a bit of an entry. He's someone that has
arrogance.
Yeah, and that causes conflict between him and Katara. And I think for me, my issue also is with the writing for Katara. Katara is more strong-willed, more assertive, more has a sense of agency. And the thing is, what's really telling, I think, was really kind of
I don't think Katara has any depth in this show.
Yeah. It felt to me that the actress. Here's the thing. So there's other projects where she is there's this movie called Beans, it's about Native American reservation stuff, and the character she plays in that is so much more closer to how Katara is the animated show. It feels to me that that for Katara, they just made her the quiet, stoic, motherly, character, where Katara at the beginning, like though, here's the thing. What's crazy about for me the beginning is that for this show, the way that the ice ball opens was just magically Katara and Sokka were just in the boat, and then the current just moved them to like see the ice orb, and it just magically
Wasn't hurt at all.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the animated show,
she's getting an argument with Sokka.
Yes, and she is a stubborn, strong-willed person that had that also like her brother. Her head is upper ass for a different reason. It's because she has to. Where her mom was gone, she had to be the woman of the house. She had to basically raise Sokka, and and she's got her hangups, her issues, and for Sokka's insecurity, it's expressed as sexism. For Katara's insecurity, she becomes like a doddering mother, and that's like a flaw that she has to overcome over time.
Well, in a sense, they're kind of becoming their parents to a degree. Sokka's trying to measure up to Dad, and she's basically trying to fill in for Mom.
Yes, and they dislike you, and they have issues because of that. And then it's sort of the course that they have to move beyond the parents and be their own persons. But with the way the live action show is, it's like Katara's whole thing is that she just wants to feel like self-realized as like a competent waterbender, and the only time she really has much conflict is with Pajo at the end of the season. But like,
and Paco doesn't even train her at the end because the war just happens. Like he comes to the doorstep before he can train her.
Yeah,
and then she points. Then she's just like, "I have a master, me."
That's a dumb line. Okay, I'm just gonna call that as the stupidest line. Like, no.
I was like, no, Katara, you're not a master.
You just lucked out.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I really wish what's
the point of Baku? We didn't learn anything from this man.
You know what's the like one of my favorite moments of the book one is when Paco sees the necklace on Katara. It's like,
didn't do any of that. And
it's like, also I don't know, you all. I felt it was really super cringy for Gran to basically do the animated voiceover narration, and it's like, okay, this is just like fan service that's unnecessary and it's taking me out of the show. I
was like, this is kind of on the nose.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, there's a lot to break down here.
But should we do some comments at this point?
Yeah, sure. Let's do some comments. Yeah.
We'll probably touch upon this more later, but something we should probably mention here is that Ozai and Azula are regular characters early on. Like, briefly, what do you guys think of that?
Well, yes. Okay, so Ozai, yes, with Daniel Day Kim's performance, I love the layers that we added to Ozai. And you're right, that was a huge thing we were lacking. We didn't really get Ozai until 3. Really, we built him up. We never really got. We had one memorable flashback with him, but he wasn't really seen in season 1. But yeah, he's. I love how we see the parental issues come into focus here. Where Ozai he seemingly at first is like he actually kind of believes in Zuko and he's trying to groom him for leadership. So he's doing all the horrible things he's doing in a twisted way of helping his son, which I love that detail. But then we kind of pull the rug out from under us here. Like he's actually been doing all this just to spite Azula to get her to kind of actually step up, and basically been using Zuko as a pawn entirely. It seems that he never believed in him at all.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how that turns out. And speaking of it, I'm going to bring this. It was like having Azula be the one behind all of Zhao's machinations kind of takes the threat away from Zhao.
Admittedly, so that's kind of the double-edged sword. On one hand, so we're seeing father like daughter with the whole master manipulator thing. In terms of Ozai manipulating Azula, what you're saying, is where Azula's definitely getting it from.
I really appreciate, just as a brief side, I really appreciate the characters, the characterization relationship between Ozai and Azula. Because in the animated show, it's like, okay, Zuko and his mom are quote unquote the good people or sane people. Ozai and Azula are the bad, crazy people. And this, Ozai is just abusive to both his children.
Yes.
And I think with the way I'm not good enough for Azula's actress, it's like, oh man, they're really seeing to where when she goes nuts and has a nervous breakdown, it all stems from just how conditional and exacting Ozai is. And it's and if anything, it kind of makes Azula a little bit more of a tragic person. And I'm hoping that that's going to be explored more. and that Ozai.
Not that she needs a redemption arc or anything.
No, not a redemption arc, but it's just like when you see her at the end of the show, like she's like just a wild animal. But then in seeing this, and if that happens, and what we know about their history, it's like Azula is just as much of a victim as Zuko, and it's kind of interesting where you see basically two children that were basically abused by their father, with one kind of just distancing himself and trying to be the complete opposite of said abuser, whereas the other one is the one that ingratiates himself to the abuser.
And the thing is, Azula kind of like lived for that kind of thing, though. She wanted to turn that around and be the abuser herself.
Like, on one hand, I like the idea that Azula plotted Zuko's death via Zhao. Now, in that respect, I like that Azula's behind that action. But you're right, completely. I think here's like, I think it's Ken Lung, who I always remember as Juntao from Rush Hour. Ken Lung.
And apparently he auditioned for this thinking it was for James Cameron's movies.
Oh, like really?
From what he said in an interview, I believe it was him. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I think that shows a bit here. Where here's like with a lot of the direction feels off with a few of our actors here. And I think Ken Leung, he got the worst of it. I think he's playing Zhao very wrong. Let me this way. He's a good actor, but I think he's miscast in the role of Zhao. I don't know. He's playing it very hammy. He's like not ham. I don't know if hammy is the right word. He's playing it very much. Zhao was full of himself, but not to this degree. It's
like didn't he say like the end of these eight episodes? He's like, they will make legends about me.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little. Yeah.
No, I think
Zhao the Moon Slayer.
Right. I mean, doesn't it feel like we're kind of like we're checking the boxes with Zhao versus like, okay, we're actually. The best thing that he did in this role was playing nice with Zuko, like, no, I'll help you. Let's work together on this avatar endeavor. Like that aspect I did like with him, but I think like by the end it's like we just threw in the whole like this man has no knowledge or history with the spirit world. I don't buy that at all from this guy. He's this big spirit plan. I don't buy that.
Well, I mean that was made clear in the show, right? It's not like it's like even Zhao himself was like, oh, I don't believe in this crap, but I'll learn about it just to use my advantage. I think it's interesting because like Zhao in the animated show, he's very much like
Zhao kind of clever. He was pretty smart.
He was a cold. He's kind of like similar to Slade Wilson in Teen Titans. The cold calculator, like a few steps ahead.
Yeah,
has his arms folded. Whereas for Zhao
who is Zhao? Who is Zhao? Sorry, go on.
Anyway, for the live action show, his characterization is kind of more like he reminds me a lot of Roland Daggett from The Dark Knight Rises, where he's like a bit, not a bit player, but like someone that's like trying. No, he reminds me of General Krennic from Rogue One, where he's clearly like buckling. He has ambitions, and he just kind of is like trying to get as much power as possible, but does it in kind of like a Weasley way. Like he doesn't have. He's like someone that doesn't have the demeanor or stature to be a born leader. He kind of has to play like underhanded games and just like climb his way up to the top.
You know what it was. I think it was missing when I said like the whole ego thing with Zhao. I think it's like this. Yes, Zhao went broad when he was getting all high on the whole I'm going to be the man that killed the moon thing. But in the Blue Spirit episode where he's like, oh, I'm gonna dictate it for the report, so essentially, so it'll be in my memoirs and everything. Okay, let's that guy's like, he's too meticulous for his own ego in that case. Yeah, this guy's just like, all right, this guy's really full of himself versus just going mad with power. Like, as we kind of build up to a guy who wants that recognition.
I mean, they're basically trying to. I mean, they turned Zhao Zhao in this series is kind of just more like a lowly like desk clerk, whoever, who has lofty ambitions, and
it's just really sad and pathetic that he's like writing letters to the Fire Lord and everything. Like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I have this big information here. Give me a bump up, Admiral.
Yeah, and then basically that's what he does, and then basically he ends up being too big for his britches, and he ends up basically. Did anyone notice that, like, when he tried to kill Zuko, at the end at the Siege of the North, like it was very weirdly cut. It's like he was trying to attack. He rose up to attack Zuko, and suddenly he's like being flipped into the water. Did you notice that it was like very weirdly cut, or was that just me?
There's, and I don't remember that particular moment, but there was just the way, like, I'll, God, it sounds mean when I'll say this, but it felt to me like sometimes the direction and like the edits felt a lot like how the prequels were directed.
I mean, with that, I don't think you're far off, right? Because here's the thing: with the direction, with few exceptions, like Daniel Day Kim, obviously, I think some of the direction on the kids, particularly, I feel was really flat. Like Qatar, again, I don't know how much that's the writing or how much that's because as you said, good actress, but again, we're just giving her really flat. It feels like we're getting a lot of first takes from like even Aang, for example, because we're not allowing Aang to really be kind of as happy-go-lucky, and we're playing him really straight, and because of that, it comes across as really kind of flat. And I'm not saying that kid's not doing a bad job. I want to make that very clear. I think this kid is well cast, but by the same time, we're not letting them. I don't know. We're not letting him act like a kid. We're kind of putting him. Basically, he feels kind of like, and we don't do this in that scene, but it feels like the scene where, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, Aang has to kind of like be emotionless when he's talking to Ko, the face stealer. It feels a lot like, okay, he's kind of playing scared to an extent there for a while. I don't know.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, there are issues regarding that whole thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's like it's kind of funny when you kind of say, like, the animated characters felt more alive than the live action actors.
It almost felt to me that, like, and I feel like you guys might agree on this to a certain extent, like the way that, like, it felt like the live action people overcorrected in terms of how to adapt from animation to live action for the performances. Is that, like, they thought, like, oh, these animated characters are very expressive, very animated. That's because it's animation, it's a kids show. And they kind of just swung into the other direction where it's like, oh, it's live action, it's more understated, and they just kind of felt like they went for understated, and then it was just like surface level.
Yeah.
It would have been really funny if they had gotten Dave Filoni to direct an episode of this.
Well, if you were going to direct any episode, didn't Filoni direct the Blue Spirit episode, or am I thinking of something else?
I mean, he very well could have, but the only ones I know specifically are the first 2 episodes and the Siege of the North Part 2.
Forget what I said. I think you're right. It's probably it.
I'll look it up.
Anyway. Okay. Yeah, but it's also, there's a little bit, honestly, I think with the casting, everything was pretty spot on. The only real casting kind of bumped up against, I'm sure people might have different opinions on this for other characters, but for me, it was like the one I had divorced with. I keep, for Azula, it's like, I'm thinking Grey Griffin. That's what I'm expecting. And it's like, but again, I think she's playing it well, but that's a me thing. That's not a her thing. It's not really a thing with the show. It's like, I keep thinking of Grey Delisle's voice coming out of her.
And yeah, you're right. And you were right. Dragon Filoni did actually direct Blue Spirit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think part of it was that.
I mean, Filoni directed quite a lot of the first season. He directed the first 2. He directed Imprisoned. He did the Jet episode as well.
Yeah.
Blue Spirit, Fortune Teller. Let's see. Northern Air Temple and Siege of the North Part 2.
Okay, I think we got it.
Yeah, thank you for the IMDb. But
sorry,
I know that's good. I think for me, when we went to Azula and Ty Lead, I was kind of thrown off. It's like it's obviously seen actresses, so they won't look exactly the same. I think for me, I don't know why. I think part of it is just that, like, for Azula and her crew, they are, even though they're teenagers, they're depicted a little bit more mature looking. Like, they're like early to mid 20s.
It's like the Disney princess rule almost.
What's the Disney princess?
Well, I guess the Disney princess, it's always that weird thing where it's this convention of the Disney princess is like, in reality, if you ever like go by the actual ages are, it's like it's like like, oh my god, it doesn't look like that at all, and they're like basically rendered to look like young women probably in their probably like senior year of high school or at youngest, like they're probably like I don't know, like probably early 20s or something in terms of design, but in reality, like Snow White's like 13.
Yeah.
Something like that, or like Jasmine's probably like, I don't know, like 15 or 16 or whatever. Like it's just something's like off there.
Yeah, I do really appreciate for like the show to depict like Azula's like training and all that stuff, and you get like at the very least, I appreciate that the Fire Nation gets a little bit more exploration than it was necessarily depicted in book one, because I think in the live action show you get a real sense of like, not okay, these aren't just the bad guys, these are the bad guys that have this like very specific like culture or specific ideology that hopefully if there's a season 3 and they go into like the episode where like Aang pretends to be a Fire Nation student, that can be better explored in that respect.
Right. Getting back to Amashu. So with Amashu, I appreciate what they were going for, but absolutely, as we kind of went over, it kind of turns into a mess. Where Jet should have been on the way to Amashu. Okay, shouldn't have been. Here's the thing: putting him in Amashu does. Here's the biggest issue I have with Amashu. It feeds into the Jet thing. It feeds into a lot of stuff. Okay, the biggest issue with Amashu is that it's too much. We're playing it too much like Boss Sing say. We make a big deal about the barriers and everything. Whereas like we go to the North Pole, we have the barriers. We go here. It's like, oh, they got bigger walls. Like, what we've done now? When we eventually get to Boss Sing say, assuming we still do, which would be shocking if we did not. We get the Boss Sing say. What's Boss Sing say have the others do not? It's a bigger wall. It's an older city and a bigger wall.
City of walls and secrets.
That's the thing. It's just all it's gonna have now because we keep doing the wall everywhere else, and we made a big deal of Omashu. It's like, it's gonna be bigger Omashu. Really, that's what we're doing now.
Considering Boss Sing say took place in like how many episodes in the second season? Like,
I mean, pretty much like almost half the second season, I'd say.
I wonder how many episodes they're gonna spend in season 2 if they do 8 again.
Well, I mean, they have to meet Toph, so it's probably going to be out. I mean, unless they put her in. I mean, I could see them economizing that Toph is just like royalty inside Boss Sing, say, if they really want to save time, given how they approached Amashu here. I don't know.
Like, Toph wasn't in Boss Sing say in the original.
No, that's what I'm saying.
To streamline it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it probably would be. She'd probably be, her family could be like one of the high class people of Boss Sing say.
I'm saying if they made the Earth King her father, I mean, it's possible they could if they wanted to, if they want to really, kind of abridge things, but who knows?
Oh, also, I'm curious. I don't know about you all. It felt like this live action show didn't really emphasize or even hint at like Aang and Katara having some romantic feelings.
That's the thing. They're not doing. The only romance we got is we're getting some Sokka romance. That's about it in this show. Nothing else. Yeah, they're playing scared, especially with, I guess, the minimal age difference in this case. They don't want to like, no, he's a 12. He's 112 technically, but it doesn't count.
So it's funny. I said the prequel. I like this director like the prequels. I guess they don't want to to echo like the dynamic between Jake Lloyd and Natalie Portman in episode 1.
You have to imagine though, at some point, I mean, they're gonna the way that show ends, they kind of have to do the relationship at some point.
Man, I'm curious though. You know what would be such a bold move that would be so divisive for the fan base is that like you have Katara pair up with Zuko.
You mean do Zatara?
No, yeah, please no.
And then Aang pairs up with Toph.
Huh.
Like if anything, like based on the original series, it'd be more like Toph would end up with Sokka.
Yes.
Because remember, she's like
let's just face it, the credo of Avatar is everyone wants Sokka. That's really what seriously think of it. Everyone but Azula wanted Sokka. She didn't really have much time with Sokka, so for all we know, it's the fact to think about it.
And remember the one time Azula did try hitting on someone, it didn't go very well.
If it was a fire lady rather than a fire lord, just throw Sokka into the palace and Sokka will riz her up and then end the 100-year war.
That's not right.
No, but it is right.
You turn the boomerang into a piece of meat. What are you doing?
It has other functions, if you know what I mean.
God.
Oh God. We're not that dark and edgy in this show.
Anyway,
but yeah, but
I will say so. Seriously, I did like even taking the sexism thing out of it. I did really like the chemistry that Suki and Sokka had.
they did amp up like Suki like having a thing for Sokka early on though. Like it's like the way she stared at him when he was getting.
Yeah.
Even though it would not, even though it would be a kind of a double standard if it was reversed.
Well, absolutely, but still, I was going to need like, man, Sokka's got it going on for the ladies. Apparently,
Sokka. It's funny when Suki's like looking in and like Sokka's like, you know, bare chest, like he's like chest is open. He's got the hair. It's like, okay, we get it. Sokka's a heartthrob. Like, god damn, y'all. But Sokka, like.
He always was, though. He always was.
I respect the hustle.
The ladies have a thing for Sokka.
Sokka got a locked ponytail. Thought it like Sokka wasn't his
and with the juice.
No. Sokka isn't his destiny is not to be a warrior. His destiny is to be the ladies' man.
Yep.
It's like he breaks people's heads.
They want a space sword and/or boomerang.
He breaks soldiers' heads and ladies' hearts.
Yep.
He can fix them back up because he's an engineer.
See, there was the delete. See, had they done like the face paint on Sokka, there would have been this thing of like him and Suki had this bonding mode. Like, oh, you like face paint? I also like face paint.
Are you trying to apply a kink there, Dragon?
No, I was just saying they have something in common. Like, hey, we should go out sometime. We both like face paint.
The way you say I got face paint, you got face paint too. What are they just going to like make out and their face paint just going to get all over them?
Well, dirty little bird. I think you're really zeroing in on the face paint more than I anticipated you to do so.
Goodness.
I'm gonna say I think they would have. We spell out other things in this show. I think it would have been, hey, we like each other. We both have face paint. I could expect that in the writing.
I mean that would kind of emphasize Sokka's awkwardness in a way.
Yeah.
I just really hope that considering what happened to Yue at the end of this series, this season, I do hope they bring up my girlfriend turned into the moon.
Did they really date though? They just kissed once. That's like a situationship at best.
You know what? Actually, Rohith does have a point because in streamlining the timeline on everything with the whole Paku lessons and everything, we don't have them spend a whole lot of time together, so we can't get with the girlfriend line.
It could be like my first love turned into the moon. Then,
hey, okay, maybe.
Well, no. Someone has to respond. Your boomerang turned into the moon.
That's why I moved on to the space sword.
It's like, but just so they can have a.
I'm still thinking of the moon, but it's also from space.
That's rough, buddy.
Do you think if Sokka's on a date and then it's a full moon?
You want to hold my boomerang?
No. Whoa, Dragon! Whoa! This is a family-friendly stream. My goodness,
it's a tactical weapon.
So that's even worse.
God, just grab it in both hands and just never let go. God damn.
Rohith was already pushing the envelope earlier, but you just burst straight out of it.
That's not what else is bursting.
Oh, God.
This is horrible.
Sorry, folks.
Every time we have Rohith on, it turns into the Harley Quinn Valentine's Day special. Every time.
Dragon's innuendo is out of control.
It's a tall dragon, if you know what I mean.
Like, Rohith, come on.
See, he's not even trying to hide it.
Rohith said Smurfy says chill, Dragon. I mean, to be fair, they both started it. So,
man,
let's nip this in the bow while we still can, but we can still,
Okay, so in all seriousness, with the relationship stuff, you can tell they are playing a little scared. But the biggest example being, or I don't know if you want to call the relationships ever just like more like the PC, a little bit of PC here. Okay, we cannot have Iroh, hitting on or at least vaguely hitting on June the Bounty Hunter. June the Bounty Hunter says, "Oh, he's so cute."
It's again kind of a double standard there.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of nice. Oh man, June's being nice to Iroh. That's really nice.
But I do kind of like how he was like, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
No, the adaptation should have been is that Iroh should have locked it down and taken lessons from the Riz master that is Sokka.
This is what Rohith is up to when we chat, so it's to be expected.
Yeah. He's got problems.
It's called having charm. Look it up.
I don't know about charm.
Well, Rohith, are you single right now?
Well, don't ask him that. He doesn't need to disclose that.
I mean, I'm just saying because technically I am. So
he might be cheating on several women. We don't know.
Whoa! No,
I don't believe Rohit's faithful at all.
Oh my god! How are you this defamatory of my character, Dragon?
Dang.
I don't really get a faithful vibe from you. I gotta be honest.
Whoa! What?
I think we're learning more about Dragon than we are Rohith here.
God. Yeah, I make just a couple lewd jokes, and then you throw in it's like you're a cheater, Rohith.
I would be inclined to think, I think you'd be full of yourself with the ladies, honestly, or the men. I don't know who, but I think you'd be very full of yourself.
Instead of a character assassinating ourselves, let's focus on how they treat the characters in the show.
Good point. So, Boomy.
Yeah, Boomy. He was like it was kind of an interesting take on Boomy, considering like the original one was this kind of like this old man who was Aang's friend is like kind of like this senile play, like he's playing senile old man just wanting to test Aang. But here they kind of did highlight how like being alive for 100 years during a war kind of would do something to a person.
I liked where we started with Boomy. I don't think we stuck the landing with it. I
mean, yeah, I'll agree. I'll concede to that as well.
Because he looks great. I think in terms of visual adaptation, he looks great. But at a certain point, like seeing the fight, that's really cool. But the problem is the content of the fight. We're like, why is he pushing Aang this far? I understand it's for a lesson, but the way we play is that it may have started as a lesson, but then Aang has to bring him back from it, so it's not a lesson at all, which feels like, man, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the charm of Boomy. He's not like doing all this as like a lesson where it's like, I'm upset about war, you need to take it seriously. Like, oh, he's reminding me of the friend I used to be. I'll stop fighting the boy now.
It's just like, you need to make the hard choice, either let it fall and you die, or have the one kill me and let me die. It's just like, okay, what's he supposed to learn from that?
Yeah, kill the old man. Like that's essentially the lesson. They're like, no, what are you doing? You're traumatizing the boy.
And it's like, and that would have made more sense if in the original show if he actually did run away. But here's like he's just clearing his head, and then he didn't mean to run away while everyone was getting killed.
Exactly. All this is conflicting.
Rohith, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like I really think for Boomy, it felt to me this is where the writing just kind of fell flat in the sense that for Boomy in the anime show, when he shows up, it's like, oh, for Aang, it's like this kooky old guy who's fun and all that. And then there's the flashbacks, but clearly, with what happened, like Boomy's not in a great state of mind or in a great place. And
I mean, with here, it just came across as like one of the unnecessary attempts of like trying to be darker and edgier in a way. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I feel like if they were going to go dark and edgier, it should have been a little bit more. There should have been more on Aang's part to like try to reach through Boomy.
Instead, Boomy just wants to kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't give him much of a reason beyond like, I'm upset that you were gone for 100 years and I had to live to this and you didn't. So here you go.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, what would have been a good... I mean, I know, like, Boomy would be great. What would have been a good replacement for that to convey that similar idea?
What?
Remember the one episode... I think it's, like... I don't know if it's from Book 2, Book 1, where it's, like...
Just give me something, I'll tell you.
What?
Just give me something, I'll pinpoint it for you.
It's, like, where the Earthbender General, like sucks in Katara.
Yeah, that's opening a season 2 with the Avatar State episode.
Yeah, something like that.
Where he's trying to force Aang into the Avatar state.
Yes.
Yeah, and then maybe that same person could have like, you're struggling to get the Avatar state, but as you're struggling, my men or our kingdom is struggling to keep a hold, and it wouldn't happen if you didn't weren't a coward and stuff like that. That would have been where like all of the criticisms that people could have at Aang would have to be laid in front of him, and he would have to either succumb to that under that weight and crumble, or go above that. And I feel like Boomy was kind of trying to use that in that similar way for this show, and I think it kind of fell flat.
It's like he's saying basically you must suffer the consequences of your actions, which in this case are clearing his head and unintentionally missing a genocide.
Yeah. So also with the Mechanist and Teo,
we have Tiki in the comments actually.
Oh.
I haven't actually sat down to watch this yet, but everything I've heard about it seems super frustrating, especially that there's too many good stuff and there's just mixed in with the bad. We were spoiled with One Piece, haha.
That's kind of the consensus I've been hearing.
I actually haven't seen the Netflix One Piece yet.
I have not myself because I want to watch. I heard they spoiled something kind of big from like the anime in the One Piece adaptation, but that's what my diehard One Piece friends say. So I don't really.
Well, they did something with there where they actually brought in Eiichiro Oda to help with the show. So
yeah, I'm not saying it's inaccurate. I'm just saying like it's like a big like they kind of gave away like a mystery from the show like up front. It sounds like I that's from what I hear. But again, I haven't watched it myself. But I'm hearing either way. I'm hearing it's received well. Anyway, so with the Mechanist, solid inclusion. But I think we should have made a complete clean break from the whole Air Temple thing with Teo, where the whole Airbender fake out thing, because we're just going to drop it anyway after like, oh well, you're not there because we're not doing the whole like we're not going to the actual Air Temple where that happens, and also we kind of got rid of the whole. Aang doesn't really use his. Do you guys remember seeing the glider actually extend and glide? Because he just flies around. He has a stick. Like does it actually glide? Have you seen it?
He did glide around. Fly around to Omashu.
Yeah. Here's my point. Like right now in the image, like was it like that or was it extended? It
was extended.
It was extended. Okay, I just missed that.
It did look like the wings and stuff from the original show.
It is weird that he can just fly without like doing that at all. Like, I understand if he's used the air propellant, that's sure. But I'm saying apparently he does that a lot.
I missed the air ball.
Yeah,
He did kind of do
that. He did it once on on Kyoshi Island. Did it once,
and he ran into the idol,
which is a nod to the opening of the show.
I actually have another point regarding something regarding like the visit to Kyoshi and the other islands, but I'll bring that up in a bit after you did get your point with Teo.
Well, anyway, yeah, so I guess. Like I said, I like how the Mechanist aids in Sokka's arc with the whole, he's kind of like finding other ways to compensate for lack of strength. But in speaking of the lack of strength thing, I have a point about Sokka's backstory. But Jake, what do you got?
You do have cabbages, I hope. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, and we do that very well.
It's like I love how they like kind of like held him off from saying it to like the very end of the episode,
and it's the actual guy.
My cabbages!
It's like Kirk's yelling out Khan in Wrath of Khan.
But even better, it's cabbages.
Yes. It's like the point I was trying to make was like it seemed kind of weird and arbitrary that he could only contact avatars while visiting their shrines.
They kind of established that though in the show. At least, well, let me say they established that until the finale. But seriously, up to that point though. His big encounter with Roku was at the Roku shrine. He did have his thing with Kyoshi. Actually, I'm sorry. We only really did 2 examples of that, and when he met with Kyoshi was during the murder trial. So that doesn't really. You're right, Jacob. We never really established that, but I don't know. I kind of like it though.
I mean, he could talk to the previous avatars at any time.
Well, remember yes and no. Yes, he could, but usually in the first season it kind of took. I guess. Sorry, I'm trying to remember. In season 2, did we do the trial with Kyoshi, or was that in season 1?
I think that was season 1.
Yeah, because we went to Kyoshi Island, but no, I think that was 2.
No, it was season 2.
Yeah, season 2 is when we gave Sokka the funny detective hat.
Yeah, you're right, it was.
Anyway, yeah, so, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, yes, it's I kind of like the idea that we're linking it to these locations, just since we're going to go there anyway, and it does, it's a way of getting those past avatars in there. But I think the best part is like we got the waterbending avatar who we never did it. We rarely ever. Yeah, Kuruk, who has like big connection with Koza. At least the avatars that we use, like they naturally fit into the plot at these key locations we did need to go to. So if we're gonna do it before he can, like, because we mentioned he can conjure them, but he doesn't really know how to do that yet because it's season 1. So like I don't know, we're kind of building the progression to him being able to call him on a win, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yep.
It just seemed kind of like an arbitrary rule, considering he could like enter the spirit state and just talk to them talk to mainly Roku whenever he wanted.
It's complete BS that Sokka and Katara went into the spirit world with him. That's contrived just because he wanted them to get. Obviously, Sokka, he was kidnapped, though. That doesn't count. Like I said, the fact Aang just goes into that state, he drags them along with him. That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, it should have been that both Sokka and Katara got kidnapped.
Yeah. Now, that does bring about Ko the Face Stealer. So, Ko the Face Stealer, it's so weird not having him for the finale because Ko added, like, the great thing about the finale of season 1 was that we had like a lot of tension there. Bangs, he goes in the meditative state. He needs to confront Ko the Face Stealer to get really important information. Because of that, we have like the big Zuko Katara fight, which again we completely sized. There was no real Zuko Katara fight. So it feels a missed opportunity just to not have that tension there and like something really impressive for the finale. We just kind of have Ko randomly. I get the logic, and we're gonna have Ko show up when he actually does naturally go to the spirit world. That in that introductory point to what the spirit world looks like in Avatar. I guess that makes sense, but still, like, why have Haybod in the first place anyway? Though, if he's not going to be kind of the threat there.
And they kind of did Haybod dirty, considering like his whole thematic is kind of central to the show's themes.
Yeah, so because of that, it just feels like we used Haybot as a means of transportation to Ko, and I feel that they kind of shortchanged them both to a degree.
I mean, it's pretty cool. George Takei, obviously, great choices voicing Ko.
Like, wouldn't it be more impressive if, even just taking it the way we have it set up here, when we talk to Kuruk, he says, "Oh, you have to talk to Ko the Face Stealer, and I got history with this guy. Go talk to him in go meditate and get into the astral form and go into the spirit world, and that's how you'll learn what you need to know." I think that's that's streamlined. He's already there. He'd be talking to Kuruk, and again, we get Ko. That's usually how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. George Takei, though, is the voice.
I did like how Kuruk was characterized in the live action show. And because in the animated show, it was like, oh, he just was very much of the spirit world. It's like, oh, he just kind of just like detached from like material needs or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And this is like, hey, I had to focus on the spirit world because spirits were going to mess up the physical world. It's like, okay, like I can see why, you kind of went into a rock and a hard place, and with your capabilities as Avatar, it probably would have been more necessary for you to fight spirits, because probably where the physical world threats are, anyone else could have hopefully solved them, but it seemed that was not the case.
Yeah. Also, it kind of sets up like the many duties of the Avatar, which one is like the whole bridge between the spirit world and the Kuruk. He's very much indicative of that, given that Ko stole the face of someone he loved. So all that tracks really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so here's the thing. Through Ko, we kind of see like our big backstory points there with Katara losing her mother and Sokka. Here's I think I'm not saying they weren't necessarily there, per Rohit's really good point earlier about the whole sexism Sokka arc thing, but it feels like we may have kind of like besmirched Hakoda's name a little bit in this show. It's like Hakoda he was really down on Sokka here. We really did. So we really made Hakoda seem kind of like a jerk in that flashback, though. Like, he almost killed everyone. He's never going to be ready.
It made an inadvertent like parallel with Ozai and Zuko, even though Hakoda's not
right. But they don't even share a scene together, though. Well, aside from when they fight that first time, like there's no build up there. There's no like payoff there. But you're right though. There is a parallel potentially, but we're not doing anything. But
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, if they wanted to like maybe if they wanted to have like a fear that would make sense for this version of Sokka, I think what would work is that you would have say Sokka maybe like like he does his warrior training. He's not bad, but like the way he goes about it is not the conventional way. That he goes maybe like a more engineer, like analytical way, which
Yeah.
kind of conflicts with what's expected from him to how he passes, how you should pass the test. And maybe his fear is that like he can't decide whether he could be a warrior engineer or a leader, and ultimately his fear is that that his indecisiveness will cost him and he'll have nothing. That would have been interesting.
yeah, but we didn't do that.
Yeah,
I'm with you. That's a good potential path to take on that.
Yeah, it just came across as kind of harsh.
Okay, so let me tell you a big criticism I have with this adaptation. I think the scene I was like, okay, they really missed the point of this hugely important scene in the crux in the whole fabric of Avatar. Okay, so we adapt two big episodes, two of the most key episodes potentially in Avatar, with the Blue Spirit and the Storm. And essentially, we do them, I think, roughly in the same episode. I think it was six, or what I forget what number the Blue Spirit episode was. I think it was called Mask, is the episode in which we did. Anyway, so the Blue Spirit itself, that story I think was well represented. We had cool action. We had the mask in there. Again, as I mentioned, I have a little bit of a problem with the whole Zuko Aang conversation. Given it should have just been Aang talking to him after learning the secret, and he wakes up like we traditionally do that. But here's the thing: the Agni Kai, when we flash back to Zuko's origin, while we did add a wonderful layer to it with the arc of Lieutenant G, like that Lieutenant G's story there was great because I always liked the Lieutenant G thing, like in the Storm episode where he's talking to Iroh and Iroh's like giving him the backstory and they have a newfound sympathy for Zuko, but adding the fact that Zuko stood up for the men on the front lines and that was like his battalion, and he was sidled with Zuko. All that is wonderful. That's exactly what I want in this show.
He said like he saved them from being cannon fodder.
Exactly. That's perfect. That's these are the kind of things I want in like if we're readapting and we can add like things that we know now that we didn't do then. That's great, and that plays in the whole honor thing.
Expansion.
Yes. Here's the problem. It's a huge mistake having Zuko actually fight Ozai in the Agni Kai. Because the whole point is, the whole honor bound Zuko thing is that he refuses to fight his father, and he's prostrating himself. He's kneeling and begging forgiveness to his father, who's just coming at him. And he says, "I'm going to teach you a lesson for your insolence," or something along those lines. And it's like we don't have the huge I looked away moment where again it's a less is more thing where Zuko doesn't fight. We cut away from the horror and we see Iroh just looking like I looked away as Zuko's like yeah, and Zhao's there. Like, again, excellent moment from the show, but having him fight his father, it just looks like Zuko's is weaker than his dad. It doesn't look like Zuko made a stand for who he is, and his father unnecessarily punished him here. Versus like I'm just gonna fight him, and I lost to my dad.
Well, I think like he was fighting him because like I feel like this should have been more explicit on the part of the writing and directing. Is that in my mind? I think Zuko finding this was indicative of him still being honor bound, and he felt that, in his view, if he didn't fight, then he would be dishonorable to the requirements of Agni Kai. I really appreciated though that like he fights him and then like Ozai overpowers him, and I think the way it's done, it's like it's not just like there's just a brief flash of fire and he gets scarred in the process. He like Ozai's holding him down and basically branding a permanent wound on his eye. My only issue with the Agni Kai in the live action show is that the Agni Kai in the anime show, it's like the entire Fire Nation's there to see all this happen. And I wish that was the case for the live action show, because not only is it that he is dishonored and humiliated in front of his family. He's dishonored and humiliated in front of the Fire Nation. So that's why he's such a big chip on his shoulder, in the animated show. And I think in the live action show that should have been there to really sell like how much he's like determined to not only be accepted by his father, but accepted by his nation state. He's basically like, hey, you messed up, and now you're just kind of like kicked out and are just basically circling the drain because Ozai didn't know the Avatar were still out there. Like for all intents and purposes, the Avatar could have just been dead, through some unforeseen means. And then Zuko was just going on a quest that would never have resulted in him coming back. And then he was just lucky to have been in the right place, right time for the Avatar to come out.
Yeah. So, also, I want to mention this.
Yeah.
A scene that I'm glad, again, another scene in connection to this, I think is really refreshing to include. Seeing the banishment, like his father actually banishing, but with it, like in a way that at least it reads as he's like, I'm going to help you. I've coddled you all your life. You're going to go out there and you're going to find the Avatar in this impossible quest, it would see. But again, I just love that he's the way that it's like right after, like it's so twisted. Just the fact that I just branded your face, and I'm going to comfort you now. Like that's. And Iroh's in the scene. He's like, you should go now. Like that's great. Like all that's wonderful.
One thing I liked about Ozai in this is that I like that one scene where like Azula is like, oh, like General Zhao like found the Avatar, and like Ozai just points out, like Riley points out, it's like, your brother was the one that found the Avatar, and like self-serving flattery and silence whispers is not what's going to get you ahead, Azula. It's
that was a good bit. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And what about the whole point where it's like Iroh was like, like talking about his eyes, like oh, you're just scarred, but your eye is fine, basically.
Yeah, basically you'll be able to see.
Like you won't be able to. You'll be able to see out of his eye.
Or like tell Zuko, it's like the pain is temporary, the lesson is permanent. And that would have been that's like a very Ozai way of saying that, like, hey,
I do like Iroh's line to Ozai. It's like Iroh, it's like he'll recover, but he'll never heal.
Yeah.
That's such an Iroh thing to say. That is.
I think they nailed this aftermath scene, but just, I don't know. It just feels like they shouldn't have fought.
Like I said, they got the casting down good.
Oh yeah.
It's just the writing and directing that really doesn't do a lot of characters in the show like justice. It's like Ozai, Zuko, and Sokka. I mean, even though I have issues with like Sokka not being sexist, like for the most part, they seem like they pretty much are like their characters.
Yeah.
And even Aang to a certain extent, but I think like with Katara and Iroh, they're the ones in which it's like the writing could be on a better level, and it's undermining how like really well these actors can inhabit their respective characters.
All right. So the finale itself, the whole thing with the koi fish.
Yeah.
It, as I said before, it really feels like Zhao just has a lot of like this spirit knowledge out of nowhere that we don't really.
Like it really just kind of like it shows the flashback to the time that the guy who was in charge of the fire temple.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like you basically like if you do like the text like the moon, and it's just like, they become mortal once every 100 years. It just came and was like, okay.
But it also feels like we're convoluting things. Like you have to use this magic knife, this magic spirit knife, versus like, well, it was so awesome where he just burned the fish, man.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that's pretty much what he does in this one. Like, too, like,
he stabs the fish here. He stabs it.
I know he stabs, but it still doesn't he burn it though.
No, it doesn't burn. It just stabs it. That's what's ridiculous about it.
Like,
there's no fire. He's a firebender.
Yeah, because it also like it makes the line that the Ira says not really make much sense. In the
I'll
context
I'll unleash 10,000 knives on you.
Honestly, that would have been really fun. I would have loved for Uncle if I would have done that. It's just like, and Zuko's like, Uncle, where'd you get all those knives? It's like, oh, I got them
June
from my
lent them
friend
to me.
Juno.
I mean, she kept calling me, so I figured I'd get knives out of her.
That's not what he only. That's not what
Oh, come on, bro. You're a sick man, Dar.
You guys are both digging into this.
What? He started it.
Yeah, but you're not ending it.
I just,
You're digging the whole deeper.
I
Dragon
just said he
loves
got
it.
knives from the girl.
Deep down, Dragon loves it. He's got a long one.
Okay, Rohit, let's just dial it. Both of you guys, let's just dial it back a little bit.
Why both? Don't lump me in with him.
I mean, I know, but you're feeding him, all right? You're feeding the troll dragons.
And it's not even after midnight.
All right, but as you were saying, Dragon.
Okay, the fact is, yes. It seems like we're convoluting some. It feels like we're trying to differentiate things just because it's in live action. It's like we don't want to repeat the same beats again. Well, yeah, but it's also sometimes like the path of least resistance, guys. Like, why? They can bend fire. They can conjure a deadly weapon. Why?
And it's like it's the fact that it's. I mean, it's interesting that they tied it into Korok like it was a knife that he used to harm spirits. But
I mean that's good, but it's like still it's just a fish though. It's like
but they're not spirit fish at that moment. They're still mortal fish.
Yeah.
No, the edgy what it's considered this is supposed to be a mature dark adaptation, or some parts of it is. General Shao should have just taken the fish and eat it live, you know.
Like, I love sushi.
I'm gonna name him Timothy.
Tried the fish.
It's like, did anybody order sushi?
General Shao took the fish,
like the moon.
made it into fish sticks, dip it in some custard, and eat it right in front of.
I'll take this fish and eat it.
No, he should have taken the fish, gone to the microwave, put it in there, and turn it up to like a minute and a half, and then really just leave and just run away.
And everyone's just watching the whole time, like, what does he do? Everyone's
just
watching,
just calling out, "Hey, Shao, fish are friends, not food."
It's like,
wait, is Aquaman in this? What is?
And they're like, what is he doing? What is that beeping thing? I didn't even know those existed yet. Oh god. But yeah, it's like he should have just roasted the fish.
Yeah.
For a second, it's like I know you meant literally, but it's like, is Zhao just gonna like talk shit to the fish?
It's like, listen here, you fish. Your
mama's so fat she might as well be a whale.
General Shao just brings Don Rickles to do like a roast.
It's like your mother was an anglerfish. Okay. Oh god. All right, sorry.
Your mama so ugly she an anglerfish.
Wow, Dragon, your mama jokes.
I mean, that's pretty much what I just did. Like, your mother was an anglerfish.
Yeah, that's like Monty Python. Like,
it's like your mother was a hamster, and it was like your father was a hamster, and your mother smelt of elderberries.
This is an ex-parent.
An ex-parent.
Yep.
It's alive. It's still alive.
Okay. Anyway, so
this is the next fish.
Yeah, so we do kind of like the giant, kind of koi fish avatar state thing. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty good on that one. Yeah.
The fish is the koi's rage, or as I think they called it, koizilla.
Oh.
I mean, I think that's just like a nickname.
Actually,
no, I think you're right. I kind of forgot about that.
Actually, Jacob, in Japan, it's called koijira.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Rohit, you're so coy.
That was a drum thump. But,
That was an unsuccessful. See, even he gets it. So, I do like.
Yeah, it wasn't funny, but I got it.
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't funny. He even got the boom sheet. Yeah.
Are these drum lessons free or what?
No. Well, the next one you have to pay us.
It was a free trial.
Yeah.
No friends and family discount?
No.
That's them breaks.
I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta make our money somehow, right?
Yeah, because the views of this stream are not getting those money.
Of course not. No.
Especially not now.
Yeah.
After all of our innuendos.
No, that's I'm doing all this.
I would hire our lawyer to sue you, but you are a lawyer, so we can't do that.
I mean, I'm sure lawyers can be sued.
Well, no, he can't sue himself, Jacob.
Well, you need to find another lawyer.
You think Laser Dude would commit to law school?
I don't know. I don't know what he usually does. He works in like radio, right, or broadcasting. I'm not sure. I might think of somebody else.
Anyway, so I like the setup that we have going forward here. We end on Zula. She's taking Amashu, but more so, I love the build up to Sozin's Con. We have like the little eclipse kind of diorama thing.
Yeah, I wonder if that means they're going to show the library at all.
I don't think that we saw Wong Shi Tong. I don't think we're doing it.
I was surprised.
Which is a shame because the library is a good episode.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked too.
Like he shows up early in the episode, like you will face some truth.
No, honestly, he, like Avatar Kurik or one of the avatars. What, Avatar Yang Chen should have showed up. Should have been there instead of the owl, because this is just the way it was cool to see him, but it was like, well, this just feels out of place. And if there's going to be the library episode, it's like, well, you're going to pick up one of the other random Avatar creatures to be talking to the gang.
Or he's like, I remember you when you went to the spirit realm. Unless they do something like that. I remember our interactions in the forest. I don't know. It was kind of weird to introduce. I mean, I think they just wanted to he's an iconic character. We should include him in case we don't get a second season. Is that what it came across as to you guys?
Here's the thing. I was kind of under the presumption they were locked in for 3 seasons already at the top of this. You'd have to imagine.
My understanding, what I just saw is that I think they're setting up a writer's room right now for season 2. And I think with the viewership numbers, they're working on season 2. And I think probably season 2 is probably going to come out probably in 2025, not 2026. Yeah, to be exact. Which is going to be weird because considering how young the actor who's playing Aang, it's it's gonna just be funny to see him his voice deepen up.
We've been traveling for so long. Aang, look how old you've gotten. Man, Appa's moving really slow these days. It's taken forever to get from point A to point B. Look at how it's been years.
It's like we've been traveling for 5 years.
Yeah. We need to re-energize this franchise. We need a little blind girl. Any of those around?
I don't know. Maybe we should check the Earth Kingdom.
Oh, look. Conveniently, it is in Ba Sing Se. Let's just go there. Is that a drill? Ah.
I wonder how they're going to pull off the drill.
Who's the girl with the lightning? Ah.
Oh, God.
Oh no, it's Lightning Girl.
And she brought an acrobat and a moody knifey girl.
It's Ty Lee. I hope they have Ty Lee and her more hyperactive in the next season.
If she's not leaping around and paralyzing people, they've completely missed the point of Ty Lee.
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. And that was the whole. That was kind of. She was a fun character, like jumping around. She was like obviously very dangerous, but she was like this playful kind of like I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah. She didn't let any of those boys on the beach mess with her though.
Nope.
No.
Girl power, gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Paralytic power.
That was and that was better than it was in this show.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was like the original show did it better than this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't focus too much on that.
Nah, probably not.
Like, what else is there? What else do we have left to say?
I mean, I think right? Did we miss anything?
I guess we could talk about.
Oh, Roku.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Roku? I thought he was a little. I thought he was maybe a little too lighthearted when we checked him.
I'll be honest. I was laughing my ass off when Roku was just messing with.
It's like, isn't it respect to bow and then hop on one leg?
That was really funny.
How much of that though is just we needed that lightheartedness versus like that makes sense coming from Roku? That's what I wanted. How much of you just wanted to laugh?
I think that
would be something more like what Iroh would do if he was a spirit.
Yeah.
Within a spirit.
Well, and I would say in defense,
go with the flow.
In defense of the characterization, like when we see flashbacks to Roku's a pretty chill, regular, fun-loving guy. He's not maybe he's not as funny uncle as his characterization is, but he has a fun he's not stuck up or anything. He's he enjoys himself, and I think when he goes around the world and learns, it's he's able to get into some mishaps but still able to be competent and capable. So I think for Fire Lord, for Avatar Roku, I think that characterization was made because it was supposed to make a very specific contrast to the rest of the Fire Nation.
And speaking of Roku, another thing that Roku did in the original series that's missing here, previously on Avatar.
Yeah.
I know there's not really a need for it here, considering the show is binged and all episodes released at once and everything, but still, it's just if only we could hear that, maybe that could be the recap at the beginning of the second season. If it begins with previously on Avatar, that'd be great.
Or have each cast member do the recap, and them recapping, when you hear the whichever character is recapping, they're the ones who will be the focus of that episode. That would have been cool. But
or the opening of seasons 2 and 3 is they do the Ember Island players. Just to recap what happened last season.
And obviously have it be embellished a little bit.
Oh, of course. Actually that does bring about the whole keeping the Avatar thing a secret. That was unnecessary, right?
What do you mean?
Zuko trying to keep it under wraps and everyone's gonna know it's the Avatar.
Well, I can understand his reasoning, because if a lot of people know that it's the Avatar, then they want to be the ones to capture him and bring it to Fire Lord Ozai. And if Prince Zuko doesn't capture the Avatar and bring it to his father, it's okay, he's even a bigger failure. It's I think Zuko, not only is he honorable, but he's very prideful, and he maybe not won't admit it to himself. He probably thinks that if other people knew of the existence, he probably wouldn't have a chance of getting the Avatar and would just kind of be left behind. Yeah,
I think that kid might be the Avatar. I hope they work that into the show somewhere. I mean, it's only one of the biggest laughs in the original series, too. It's why is your forehead all red? No, but I think that kid might be the Avatar. I don't know. I mean, they kind of already ruined the hippie guy when they brought him into the Cave of Two Lovers episode.
That's what I'm saying. Look, I still we didn't need that cave, man. We didn't need those hippies.
I mean, it's kind of interesting how they changed to slightly changed the story of Oma and Shu, and then updated it to mean sibling or even platonic love in a way, or familial love. It's just kind of an interesting.
Or just love in general. Love is love, or whatnot. I was okay,
yeah, it's but that would have been it would have kind of lost it, kind of lessens the cave's impact.
I mean, it's the cave of two lovers. It's not really.
Yeah,
The cave of happy siblings.
This is Omashu, not Alabama.
That's true. We know Avatar loves Star Wars though, so maybe that's ultimately what they're going for.
Oh man, is Aang the Han Solo in this situation?
I mean, ipso facto. I mean,
So Appa's Chewbacca. That actually works. Yeah.
Then what is Momo?
R2D2.
Then who's C-3PO?
Cabbage Man.
Fair enough. I'll take it.
I mean, Iroh might be C3. No, he's
No.
Then how does Zuko fit in?
Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, he's Vader. He's Vader. He has the arc. He's Vader.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Ozai's the Emperor.
But
Azula's just a lot of trouble. She's the lightning. She's the lightning part of the Emperor.
But then wouldn't that make Sokka Zuko's son?
Yes.
That's why.
Zuko
says that's rough, buddy. That's what a dad would say to their son.
He's patting him on the shoulder, just saying,
"Hope for turning the moon."
That's rough, buddy.
And says, "Come here, you. Let's talk about your life choices." So you met this girl named Suki.
Avatar plus Star Wars equals Mortal Kombat.
You're gonna have certain feelings when you grow up, and you're gonna meet a girl. She's gonna have face paint,
and then you'll find another one.
To rub on the face paint and make it a body paint, if you know what I mean.
And then you'll find another girl. She might turn into the moon, but that's to be expected.
That's his life. Then you're gonna have like a lot of Fire Nation girls. You're gonna have a thing for you, and you're just gonna have to deal with that.
It's like just call yourself Wang Fire, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Oh, don't bring up the name.
No, like
that was like the original show.
I know but not in this kind.
Aang mastered all 4 elements, but he didn't. There's one element he didn't master. The Riz.
The Riz. It's like how do you know all this stuff, Dad? Have you ever heard of the name Wang Fire? Wang Fire gets all the chicks.
In certain circles, it's actually Wong Flame. Or Wing Feet.
Oh God.
And this is sponsored by Wingstop, where all the flavors where instead of mastering all 4 elements, you can get 4 flavors for $30.99.
What has this podcast devolved into?
Apparently product placement.
Anywho,
I'm just going to say this. Let's get if we want to differentiate things, let's do a flashback to Kuzan. Just speaking of all the Fire Nation stuff, because that guy, we never see that guy. We always just mention him in passing. We referenced him again. We referenced him in passing. He had a friend that Zuko reminds him named Kuzan that we bring up all the time in 3. And maybe let's see the guy.
What about or a Zulon?
What if Kuzan was actually Zuko's imaginary friend, and he's too embarrassed to tell people that, and just pretends that it's an actual real friend he had in childhood?
What do you mean, Aang?
Yeah.
Zuko's not going to have this. Zuko's not going to know Aang's imaginary friend.
Speaking of Zuko,
I don't know. Like Zuko has a very extensive notebook about all the other avatars. Like,
speaking of Zuko and imaginary friends, I wonder if they will tackle the kind of episode of Zuko alone.
I would love. They got it right. At some point, they have to.
I mean, it's like one of the most important episodes.
It's going to be retitled Zuko Solo to make us just to bring in the Star Wars crowd.
A princess story, an ex-princess story.
It won't be Dallas Liu. It'll be Alden Henrik in Zuko makeup.
Oh, okay. Real quick, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I never knew how serious they were about this, but in the commentary for the episode where Zuko comes into the fold in season 3, I'm pretty sure it's the joke, but they mentioned like one of the working title for the episode, at least behind the scenes, was Zuko's Cool. Well, yeah, Zuko's cool. Let him into the group. So that was at least the joking working title. I don't know if they actually entertained like calling it Zuko. I doubt they were.
The title should have been Zuko Together because it'd be like Zuko alone and Zuko together. Stand alone, stand together.
That would be pretty interesting.
Zuko and the gang. The gang meet Zuko.
And this time, gang spelled with 2 A's.
Yeah.
Because, gang.
Yeah, no, I understood the reference. Yeah.
Gang.
All right, gang, let's split up and search for clues.
Dun, 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 dun.
Like, and Zonka with the detective hat.
Yep.
Sokka's Fred.
Sokka is so Fred. He's gonna be Fred.
Yeah, but let's not make Katara into Daphne.
No.
She's the Velma.
No, Toph is the Velma.
No, Toph's the Daphne in this case. She has to be.
Okay, then all right, then who is
Not really, but because we've made Sokka Fred, that's the only thing it's gonna make. Unless Suki's there.
Make the. I'm trying to think. It's like make Princess Yue into Daphne, and it's like
she's dead.
No. You have her spirit form be Daphne, and then Toph is Velma, and for Shaggy
because she can't see anything without her glasses.
I mean,
tell me I'm wrong.
No, I just think that Toph was very intelligent.
Oh sure.
Wow. Way to be bigoted towards the.
You mentioned it. You just assigned her in that role.
To be fair,
Velma. She could be Scooby-Doo. You don't know.
I mean, to be fair, the original series did make plenty of jokes about her being blind.
Yeah.
It's like, remember, it's like there it is. That's what you guys will say when you see it. It's like,
it's what is this? Down, isn't it?
I can't.
What is this? I don't know. I'm blind. I can't see.
It's like,
I keep telling you people, I'm blind.
It's like, what is the meaning of this? How should I know? What's with you people? I'm blind.
I was talking to Katara.
And then.
Or it's like, oh, Sokka, it's good to see you. And then it's like, oh, it's Suki.
Like, you can let me drown now.
Rohith, if you're done insulting the blind, if we could just wrap this up.
Excuse me, sir. What is my profile picture? It is one of the most celebrated blind characters in fiction, good sir. How dare you?
Yeah, so you're appropriating blindness.
I am not incorporating blindness.
You're appropriating blindness. I've seen your stationery.
No,
I've seen your Braille stationery.
How dare you?
For context.
How dare you, good sir?
You just have that Braille stationery to show off. You don't need that at all. You're taking that Braille stationery from people who actually need it.
It's I can hang up posters. It's
I've seen you go with the full Patrick Bateman. The whole look at that card stock. Feel those bumps, man. Look at that. Oh wait, I mean feel that.
Wow.
What even is this anymore?
Man. Dragon, I think you need to see a seminar. My goodness. God damn.
What even is this anymore?
I have no idea.
Have we we pretty much just stopped talking about the Netflix adaptation at this point?
No,
they gave up at the halfway point. Why shouldn't we?
I want to bring it back. I want to bring it back to the end, to how this season ends.
How does it end?
There's specifically, like Ozai was kind of doing like 4D chess, and that was like, oh, as the Team Avatar, or like, we're trying to defend the Northern Water Tribe. We took over Amashu.
Yeah.
And then we have Sozin's comment, and it's like, oh, here's a tease for what's to come. It is interesting to depict that, and I guess it's just like for Azula, I think the show can just have her just basically conquer a lot of Earth kingdoms for the second season. I'm just curious, if she takes over Amashu, is she just going to stop there, go to Ba Sing Se? What's going to, that's kind of unclear.
I guess so. Well, they're heading back to Omashu, so we're probably going to adapt that episode where they're going to go back to Omashu and they're going to have their first, real face off with the Zula and company, and then beyond that,
I wonder if they're gonna. I wonder if they're gonna do the part where he's injured during the Avatar state.
well, that's usually the cliffhanger of how it ends. So they would have to do that.
It's like where she like zaps him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a big deal of her shooting the lightning, so I think they're
And
we gave Katara the spirit water, so
yeah, I kind of wish they had built up to it more. Like instead of like it's in the middle of an episode where she's sparring with the others, like, oh look, she can shoot lightning.
Yeah.
And she was doing it more to show off to her father that she's like, hey, look, I can shoot lightning.
It'd be shocking if they didn't do Boss Sensei.
Pond Dragon?
Shocking.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it would be shocking if they. It would be surprising if they did not do Boss Sensei in season 2, right?
They kind of have to do Boss Sensei.
I'm just saying, given the way it's done on Omashu, it'll be like that's going to be like a real like they've written this out that they absolutely have to do Boss Sensei because one, you have to. I mean, two, it's like well now we've cheapened it, but they got to do it now.
I mean they brought up Boss Sensei a couple times.
That's the thing. Yeah, we brought it up. We got to do it.
Do you think we get to revisit Jet next season?
And
also, I think they shot their. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Well, I don't think, given how they handled Jet, and we basically did kind of almost a boss. We put Jet in a city, which is essentially what we do with Boss Sensei. I don't think we're going to be able to do nearly all the Jet stuff we did in Boss Sensei. So I don't think there's really a point in bringing Jet back, just given how we just kind of included them. But I think they're going to be obligated. I think they're going to have to do it, but I don't think they should do it.
And of course, there's going to be the obligatory. There is no war in Boss Sensei.
Oh, you got to do Judy.
All the Judys.
Yes. No, I want all the Judys. They're probably just going to do one Judy.
I mean, because remember, like they did show several, they did show several of the Judys and the whole brainwashing kind of.
That's the thing. I don't think they're going to do it. I want them to do it.
I mean, they might.
They might.
I'm curious, how they'll depict the boulder.
The boulder.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. I really hope they don't. If they streamline Toph to the point where she's in Boss Sensei, I don't think we get the wrestling match. But if we do see her outside of it, I think you would imagine.
I hope they do justice to that.
Well, like it's said in the legal system, justice is blind. What's the price for your eye?
Like I said, I just hope if they do bring Toph into this, I do hope they maintain the overall sense of humor with her. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They're not afraid to be funny be funny with the fact that she's blind. You know?
Have the short girl be like the toughest guy in the room.
Yeah, the fact that they don't. I mean, they made humor out of it, but she was never a joke.
Just have Charlie Cox in a wig and have him play Toph.
And the Ember Island players thing.
No, in like the regular, just Charlie Cox is good. Like he can play blind. He can have fighting experience. He can,
You're typecasting Charlie Cox.
I'm not typecasting Charlie Cox.
You are absolutely typecasting Charlie Cox right now.
It's like, hey, you remember that one time you played a blind guy? Yeah.
Well, now you play a blind little girl who can move rocks.
Yeah, that's not typecasting. That's extending his range as an actor. Man.
Yeah. But I don't doubt that he can do it, but I do. I don't doubt that he can do it. He's got range.
I don't know if he has that much range.
No, he's got that much range.
I mean, it'd be funny.
Just because he can do it doesn't mean he should do it.
I'm just saying it'd be funnier if he did that.
Just to make Rohith happy, he should.
I'm just saying they could compromise and do it they could bring him in for the Ember Island players version of Toph.
Have Charlie Cox when he as Toph when he's doing the underground fighting. He's wearing a Daredevil costume, but it's in Toph color, so it's like green and yellow.
Okay, now you're just being silly, Rohith.
Man,
Smurfy's Law wants to see Ember Island. It's like,
See, we were talking about actually putting like Charlie Cox in like a little girl's wig and everything, and now you're just making it like ridiculous.
oh yeah, we're being ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm the ridiculous one in this situation.
All seriousness though, if they did like the Ember Island players thing, it'd be really fun if you had the English accent while playing tough.
I mean, what kind of makes sense considering the whole high? If they do make her like a high class, like if they do make her like Bossing say royalty kind of. Although with the way this show goes, I don't think honestly think they're going to include Ember Island. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. It was that last it was the final calm before the storm that was Sozin's Comet.
Yeah.
So, if anything, they're probably going to have the little meetup session, then do Sozin's Comet. I don't know. I mean, and for all we know, they're probably going to condense Sozin's Comet too. For all we know. If anything they can do, they could at least introduce the spirit turtle more, which they did actually bring up in this episode.
Yeah, they did.
So they are kind of retroactively fixing it, somewhat of a Deus Ex Machina there, but
which again is the appeal of doing this show. It's again like taking what we know is coming and just like how can we kind of thread it a little bit more? How can we set it up and like take advantage of like the fun experiences going forward in the original show?
And they can have them like fix some of the Deus Ex Machinas and stuff like that.
Like Moon Girlfriends.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever had a girlfriend turn into the moon.
I know, just a star.
Yep, just a star.
Yep.
When Sokka's on a date or is having a date with a
girl, no, you're done talking. No,
would he consider it like this be stalking on the part of his ex-girlfriend, or just like he's invading her privacy?
Like he looks up and sees the full moon. He's just like, "You It's like, don't judge me, okay?
You can watch, but not join it.
See, Rohith, I thought of a dirty joke, but I opted not to say it.
Say it. Say it. Chat, say it. Chat,
Dragon.
Every time I see her, it's like every time I see her, it's like the first time, especially from this angle.
Yes, new meaning to mooning.
Oh god.
Good night, everybody.
Did I end it there then?
Well, no, it's just let's thank the folks first. Thanks for okay. So look, just to round out one statement on the show. It's a mixed bag, but again, has its redeeming elements.
And there's room for improvement. If they take what they learned from this season, they could definitely improve for the second one.
If they can learn from the Avatar, they can hopefully master all elements.
Indeed.
Like there are things to be enjoyed, and as we mentioned, there are some things that were connected better in this show. But overall, I wouldn't say this really lives up to the original, but it still has room to grow.
Yeah. But again, it's at the end. Nothing's ever going to top the original. Like so rarely in life does that ever happen. So it's like it's always an uphill battle. But again, folks, could have been a lot worse.
And quick question though, someone brought up I believe it was Gias earlier mentioning fans wanting Mark Hamill to play the Cabbage Man, which I'm glad we got James C for to return back for my cabbages. But in place of that, what kind of character would you like for Mark Hamill to guest star as in this?
Well, in part, yeah, go on.
I would either he's like the head MC host for the Ember Island players, or he plays an administrator in Bossing Say.
Ooh, that'd be pretty good.
Well, I think a few options would be if we could have got him in the first season. Honestly, I think he would have been great as Jong Jong.
Or I also think he would have been good as Sozin. Like they could have brought him in for Sozin.
You know what? That's actually a really good idea. But I think aside from that,
either that or a Zulon.
Yeah, it's fair, but we didn't do any of that, unfortunately. But yeah,
Ooh, Sozin. It would have been it would have been cool for
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what I just said.
yeah.
Oh damn, sorry.
Okay, so besides that, with the Emerald Plays, him playing the version of the Fire Lord in that would be really cheeky.
Ember Island Iroh.
Good. But you know what? Actual, God, is it the Clancy Brown character? It's not Lei Fong, is it? Is it? God,
It's I think
his name. I always blank. I always get his name wrong. That's why I'm trying to think of what it actually is. The Clancy Brown character. I think
is it Lee or
no, it's not. No, it's not Lee. I thought it was Lei Fong, but it was like something. What is that? That's not right.
Lee is Zuko's alias.
No, I know that's not Lee is Zuko's alias. I'm just trying. When I say Fong, I don't think it. Long Fang. That's it. Yes, Long Fang. I was thinking like Bei Fong. That's why I always screw up there. But yes, Long Fang. I think Mark Hamill would be really good as him.
Yeah.
Who is he? Which one was he again?
Well, he was essentially the guy manipulating the king in Ba Sing Se. He was essentially running the Dai Li and everything, and then Zula kind of like says, you weren't even born in this game."
Oh, he was the one. Was he? He was in charge of the Judies.
Yep, well in charge of it all. So again, by proxy of the Judies, the Dai Li were the ones coaching the Judies. But yeah, it was him.
So he was basically the one in charge of the whole conspiracy.
Exactly. I think that's what I'd get Mark Hamill to play for putting in season 2. In season 3, though, fake Fire Lord Ozai.
That would be great if they did get Mark Hamill for this.
Yeah, that'd be ultimate tongue-in-cheek thing right there.
Especially if they did as Ember Island. I was like he played Mako's brother. He's originally Mako's brother. Now he's playing Mako's character.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they're going to have some reference to Mako in some way in this show.
I mean, I think they played a few notes of Leaves from the Vine in this season when we talked about Lieutenant. So,
brave soldier.
I would be cool to see an episode in a future season where the main focus is Lieutenant.
I would be very impressed if they did that.
And like his relationship with Zuko. Because remember, it's like speaking of which, like the scene at the funeral where he was like where Zuko was talking about like how much Lieutenant meant to him and giving him the badge. Like he was already a great warrior when he gave this to me.
Oh yeah,
that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
As we mentioned, the show does a lot of good things well, like in expanding some things, but it's just like when we're like trying to recap the stuff that came before, just kind of falls flat a bit.
Yep.
But the original stuff that they add to the show is actually quite nice. It's kind of like an interesting balance. They have to find a good balance, like the Avatar does. like the Avatar does, like finding a balance between the physical and spiritual. They need to find a good balance between what was there in the original and the stuff new stuff they want to add. I think that's a good note to end out on. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Smurfy's Law. Code yes. We have Tiki here briefly.
And we had Little Blue.
Yeah.
Little Blue, Warp Monarch.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us, and see you in a couple years for maybe the next season of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yep.
Sokka's boomerang isn't the only thing that comes back.